Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. As does Henry Parrish go into next season with a chip on his shoulder? And does the new college football rule benefit teams that run the ball more? So, Henry Parrish transferred from Ole Miss. He came in last year, ended up becoming running back one. I, along with some others, felt like he got that position by default due to injuries to Don Chaney, Trevon Citizen, and the issues that Jalen Knighton was dealing with. Now, that's not to take away from Henry Parrish's talent. Henry Parrish was in the same South Florida that Don Chaney as well as Jalen Knighton were in, and Henry Parrish ended up winning the Nate Moore Trophy for the most outstanding South Florida athlete or most outstanding South Florida player. So, no one's taking anything away from his talent. It's just that once you get to college, people start to measure ceilings a little bit more. And a lot of us were biased to Don Chaney. Some of the newer people fell to that new toy syndrome with Trevon Citizen. But in any regard, I feel like that maybe we did not value Henry Parrish as much as we should have valued him. Now, some people may, say, oh, well, 4.9 yards a carry. I mean, that's nothing to really write home about. But at the same time, we understand the myriad of injuries that we had along the offensive line that has hindered our running game for the past two seasons. So 4.9 yards, I feel like that is something that you have to admire when you're dealing with all of the circumstances that surround it. But as an athlete, I think that I'm sure Henry Parrish has maybe saw some of these things. I'm sure he's maybe heard some of these particular different things. And I think that may put a chip on his shoulder. Now, we all know football is a team sport, but I have to say, if I'm just looking at the offensive side of the ball, if I'm looking at immediate impact, if I'm looking at what position group has the highest overall ceiling going into next year, I have to put it at the running back position. Obviously, for one, running back is the easiest position to transition from high school to the college game. I'm also looking at the fact that Don Chaney, barring breaking another shoelace, shout out Coach Hayes, Trevon Citizen looks to be back. I think you have those two guys. Then you bring in Mark Fletcher, who many feel is a very complete running back, and Chris Johnson, who is somewhat of an X factor, which I think some people feel like he needs a little bit more development along the running back, side. But in any regard, and then obviously Henry Parrish, that is a lot of competition that is going to take place on Green Tree practice field. And obviously, Henry Parrish, this is not going to be last offseason, right? Barring anybody breaking any shoelaces, this is not going to be last offseason. So I feel like that Henry Parrish knows that there's competition coming, and he knows that his job is not secure. And so I think that puts a chip on his shoulder going into next year, which there's nothing wrong with having a chip. I feel like all the running backs are going to have a chip. I think maybe Donald Chaney probably has the biggest chip, but I think Henry Parrish is going to go into it with a chip for the simple fact that I think you have to look at it and say, man, people didn't feel like that I rightfully earned this. I earned this by default. Again, when Henry Parrish was being, when it was first mentioned that, hey, we may get Henry Parrish because of Kevin Smith coming up from Ole Miss. And many people were like, well, Henry Parrish probably be third on the depth chart. Like, let's be for real. You know what I mean? And again, I was one of the ones that said that. So I'm not, absolving myself from this. But I do think when you look at things in context, I do think that Henry Parrish did as good of a job as he could have done last year. When you think about some of the games and then think about some of the plays that looked like that it wasn't going to be positive yardage, and Henry Parrish was able to get positive yards out of it, for him to run very strong, very reminiscent of Travis Homer, a guy who was not the biggest running back, but his run style, his power, you could not tell that he wasn't a guy that was looking to be physical in the run game, So I think he's going to go into this season with a chip. I think he understands that once fall count rolls around, the competition level is going to be intensified. I'm going to go on record and say and this is just strictly potential. I don't remember the last time we had a running back room this deep. Now, obviously, we had the running back room of DJ Dallas, Homer, and Cam and Lingard. That was a nice running back room, but I think this room is deeper. I think this room is faster. If you want to think about that, and I think from a size perspective, I think we have a Don Chaney, you have a Citizen, and you have a Mark Fletcher. Those are three ideal size running backs, and then you got Henry Parrish and Chris Johnson, who are, maybe some smaller guys that can do, obviously can do what they used to call it third down back type of things. I think that's a good balance. But I do think that Henry Parrish is going to have a chip on his shoulder, and I can't wait for the competition. Which leads me into my next subject. College football has debuted a rule, or they are reintroducing a rule that indicates that once you get a first down, the clock will no longer stop. Now, me personally, I'm not going to say I like the rule. I'm not going to say I dislike the rule. I mean, it's a rule. But does the rule help teams that run the ball more? I was listening to Minister Sports, Zach Smith and Chris Drew, and they may have, I think they were jokingly saying it, say, man, this rule could, is going to help Michigan because that's what they want to do. They want to, play ball control. And so I was thinking, I said, well, let's look at this in a grander scheme of things, right? Before the hurry up offense became a thing that was adopted by the SEC, that's what Alabama was doing. Georgia still does that. Florida, under Urban Meyer, they were running the ball. And so when I think about my current Hurricanes, I have to stop and think that I feel like this year, I felt the same way when Rhett Lashley got here. I felt like the running back position has been the strength of the team for the past 3 years, right? And I sure really feel like it's a strength now. So I really feel like that, yes, it does benefit those particular teams. Because you got 40 seconds to get a playoff, and if the offensive line is doing what the offensive line does, I do think that a continuing running clock does benefit those particular teams, because those little couple of seconds that it takes for the sticks to get repositioned, for the referee to get the ball, maybe they ran the ball to the left side or run it to the right side, that little time that it takes for them to get the ball, set, placed, and the sticks relined up, those particular seconds are vital for teams that want to do a power run game. And so it got me thinking, like, all the news is going on with the University of Alabama. And over the last couple of years, the University of Alabama defense hasn't been as good as it has been in the past, which a lot of it has to do with the rule changes and stuff like that. But I do think that it's going to help them, and I think Alabama may get back to some of the old style things that Alabama did, especially with the situation going on in the quarterback. And I do think that at Miami, even though I like our receivers, I do feel like that it's gonna be a work in progress. But if the running back room is gonna perform like I think the running back room is going to perform, then I do think that we could be one of the ones that benefits from this particular rule change, running the ball. I know some fans don't want to hear that, but hey, I think that's the strength of the team. And when it's the strength of the team, you got to do it. You got 5 guys, potentially 2 guys leaving next year with Chaney and Parrish, barring anything unforeseen. You got 3 guys behind them, and then you got, whatever you're going to bring in this upcoming year. Maybe you add but that's what I think. Anyway, man, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. Henry Parrish is going to have a chip. And does this rule benefit teams that run? And will it benefit us with the current state of affairs in terms of our offense? As always, man, like, share, subscribe, comment, and as always, about the you.